So One Student Church to me means really family. And I know that sounds cliche because everyone says fam or whatever, but at the end of the day, growing up with these people and growing up around fellow believers, like they really do become your family. And then these trips and these big moments that you share together, you really are closer than brothers and sisters. And just One Student Church is my family, and I love y'all.
OSC is like another family to me. Like, since I've joined Fine Arts, it just, even though I don't come all the time, they've just treated me like another family.
Well, it's a place I can go and really grow deeper in my relationship with God, and just really a place where I can go and just relax and all the stress of the week. I just come and just, it's church, and church is family. It's like coming home. I look forward to it.
One Student Church means everything to me. I started coming when I was in 7th grade, and it started out as a place where I could come and meet with God. But over the past 6 or 7 years, it's also evolved into a place where I can gain wisdom and get life advice from Pastor Adam and Amand and our other amazing youth leaders. I've grown as a person since I've been a part of OSC. I've developed the gifts that God has given me, and I've built lifelong friendships that are really more like family.
Deep questions. To me, I know we say it a lot, but One Student Church has always meant family, just because they've always been the family for me back in middle school when I had no friends in my regular school, and would always come here to have my friends, or even up to my senior year when I was really involved in my high school and didn't always have time to come here. They still always loved me the same. They still always loved me the same, and just they didn't change. Even though I wasn't always available or thought I was too busy for them, they still always cared for me and reached out to see how I was doing. And so that's what a family should look like, and I appreciate them for that.
New Year's Eve church, that night we had a worship service into the new year. That must be my favorite moment.
If I had to give my favorite moment in One Student Church, it would actually be a series of moments. Back in the good old days when we filmed One TV, for the 10 of you that probably know what that is, we filmed a series called Naked and Afraid, which is basically if you took the series of early Genesis and turned it into like a sitcom-ish TV show. And that was a really good time. I felt like we had a really good group of people filming together, and we just had fun, and it was probably my most favorite moments with One Student Church.
One of my favorite moments of OSC was probably 2 years ago. We had worship team practice before service, and we had a set list put together, and we had practiced through all of our songs. But the whole band, we were just kind of messing around, and we kept playing, and we started singing parts from other songs that worked with the songs that we had put together for worship. And it was the first time that we had kind of had that freedom, and we just kind of experimented, but the Holy Spirit was so present there, and the whole team, we just kind of had our own moments with God, and it was just super cool to be a part of. And I think that moment was a catalyst of things to come, and a catalyst of what God has done through worship since that moment on Wednesday nights. And it's my hope that that culture will last in One Student Church beyond me.
My favorite moment is when we were at Houston Fine Arts and we were just about to perform for our human video, and we were practicing, and we had finished the practice, and Dominic and Luke all of a sudden come up to me and they're like, "Mackenzie, why were you so good at being a demon that time? Where did you come from?" And I am now a demon this year again.
My favorite moment in One Student Church is probably last year at Nationals. just being able to compete with everyone, it was really fun. But then when I heard that I got the third round callbacks, we were worshiping at the front, and it announced, and everyone started screaming and jumping, and people threw me on their shoulders, and it was the biggest celebration, and it was really special because everyone was really celebrating, me, but it seemed so insignificant, but everyone just really, rallied up and celebrated, and it was a really cool experience.
I think one of the funniest moments overall that has happened since I've been in One Student Church was the missions trip to San Antonio in 2016. That whole trip was wild, but one of my favorite moments happened on the last night we were there. A large group of us, we were in the workout room, and it was getting kind of late, and so I was in a room with Shelby Sinstat, Abigail Vaughn, and Pastor Adam's sister, Hope. And so I got tired, and so they decided to send me back up to the hotel room with one of our keys. And so I got up there, I turned on the Lizzie McGuire movie, and I crashed, and I didn't have the ringer on my phone on. And so then later, Shelby got tired, and they sent Shelby up to the room with the other key. Shelby got up there, Shelby crashed, and so Hope and Abby decided to come up to the room at who knows what time. It was super late, but they didn't have room keys, and Shelby and I were zonked. And so we couldn't hear them beating on the door, we couldn't hear them when they called us, when they texted us. So they ended up sleeping outside of our hotel room in the hallway until like 7 in the morning, when finally Shelby heard them and let them in. And then we all ended up oversleeping, so yeah.
We were outside, and it was during the summer, and we were playing this over-under game with a roll of salami, and it ended up falling apart, and it was gross, and it was nasty, and it was hilarious because we all did it together, and we ended up throwing it at each other.
My funniest moment at One Student Church was one snack we had at our house. We were like swimming and whatever, and Josh Frizzell decided that he was gonna belly flop off the top rock. And we all thought he was crazy, but he did it and, was smiling afterwards, and we thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. But then all these guys started lining up and doing it, and it lasted for about 10 minutes, and then everyone came out and their chests were all red, and so that was probably the funniest moment.
My funniest moment is when we were at Houston Fine Arts and we went to the pier one day, and Dominic, Abigail Vaughn, and Galen Vaughn, we all kept doing the tilt-a-whirl. And we did it so many times that we got to be on a first-name basis with the worker, and we had so many jokes with him.
My funniest moment for One Student Church would probably have to be the dead skin story. Now, for those of you that don't know what the dead skin story is, I will explain. Now, the dead skin story takes place at camp, but there's some stuff that happens before camp that makes it what it is. Now, in about 2015 or 2014, we had a missions trip to El Salvador, which is very close to the equator, in case you don't take geography. And basically, if you're close to the equator, the sun hits different. And so on our free day, we went to a beach, and I forgot to reapply sunscreen, and I came back very, very sunburnt. Now, cut to a few weeks later at camp that year, once sunburns subside, your skin starts to peel a little bit. And so I was sitting on the top bunk of our cabin, and Drew Christensen was sitting on the bottom bunk of our cabin. And as a joke, I was peeling off the dead skin and throwing it at him, because that's what middle schoolers do, is jokes, apparently. And so I was peeling off skin of Drew, and he was just saying, like, stop it. And then eventually I peel off one piece of skin and throw it underneath me, and you just hear Drew go, stop. Keep that noise in there, okay? All right. And so he choked on my dead skin, and I got sent to high court that year.
I guess I'm just
I want to charge y'all to just, when you come here and when you leave here, just to really seek God, and I know you will find Him every time you do that, and just to really let what Pastor Nathan and Pastor Adam and what the leaders say and come here to what God's laid on their hearts to really think about it over the week and let it sink in and just take from it what you can and let it help you grow.
I charge the next generation to study deep into the Word and just do everything for the glory of God.
To the next generation of One Student Church, I charge you to love the Lord, to dedicate your life to Him, to trust Him, to worship Him in the good times and the hard times, to seek Him, and then to dream big, because God has such an amazing plan for each and every one of you that's just beyond your wildest imagination.
To be better than us. My favorite Marvel quote of all time is in Spider-Man Homecoming when Tony Stark shows up at the boat splitting in half and Peter Parker tries to justify it. He says, well, I just wanted to be like you, and Tony Stark said, well, I wanted you to be better. And I've always used that, and I charge y'all with that don't just try to live up to our expectations, just try to exceed them and be better than we ever could be, grow the church more than we ever could, and get more involved than we could.
I charge the next generation of One Student Church to really get plugged in and to invest your time and invest in relationships here, because it really goes by so fast. And the years, they're just so memorable and they're so fun, and just really when you're plugged in, you get more out of it. And you really find your forever friends and people that you can confide in and trust in. And so that's what I charge to you guys.
Home.
Family.
Home.
Family.
Home.